Hello, today we're going to be talking about frequency adverbs, more specifically about always, usually, often, never, sometimes, and hardly ever. Here we have a scale, okay, starting from 100% until 0%. 100% will be always, followed by usually, then often, then sometimes, around 50% of the times, then hardly ever, which is almost never, and finally, never. Some examples are, he always studies. He usually studies. He often studies. He sometimes studies. He hardly ever studies. And finally, he never studies. Now, adverbs of frequency come after the verb to be. Okay, this is very important for you to remember. It comes after the verb to be. So let's see. She is, verb to be, sometimes late. First the verb to be, then the frequency adverb. Another example, the students are never bored. Students, plural, are, verb to be, never. Okay, verb to be, then the frequency adverb. Now, adverbs of frequency usually come before, okay, before other verbs. Okay, before other verbs. Let's take a look. Let me erase this. She often, frequency adverb, checks, verb, her answers. She often checks her answers. So as you can see, is the complete opposite from what happens with verb to be. Let's take a look at another example. He usually pays attention in class. Frequency adverb, usually, and the verb pays. Frequency adverb, then the verb. Now, the frequency adverbs usually and sometimes can also come at the beginning or the end of the sentence. Let's take a look at an example. The dog eats his homework sometimes. As you can see, the frequency adverb is at the end of the sentence. We can also say it, sometimes the dog eats his homework. In this case, it's at the beginning of the sentence. And finally, we can also say the dog sometimes eats his homework, which is in the middle of the sentence. Now, it is important for you to remember that this only works with usually and sometimes. For the other frequency adverbs, it works as I explained before. You also need to use how often in order to ask questions about frequency. For example, how often do you study with a partner? Okay, we begin with how often, and then the question itself. How often do you study with a partner? For example, it says, I sometimes study with a partner. Frequency adverb, then the verb. How often do you get 5 on a test? I always get 5 on a test. Okay, frequency adverb, then the verb. How often does she go to the movies? She often goes to the movies. Remember, third person singular, she often goes to the movies. Let's erase this. Use ever in yes/no questions. Ever means at any time. For example, are the tests ever easy? Does he ever get an A? It doesn't look like it. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a great day.